First of all, as I usually do, every morning when I wake up and open my eyes, I thank God, the Virgin Mary, who made my parents' heart met, my most beloved Saint Mom, and my most beloved Dad, for the gift of life, which is really all. I can tell you, I would not be here with you this evening if I had not been loved so much. Life is really the most important, the greatest, the most precious and the most sacred gift we always ought to honor, to respect and defend. Then I would like to tell you that I am so very happy to be here this evening with you. And I thank with all my heart Father Joe, Diacon Dave, Teresa, all of you. And I am so very happy to be just in this church dedicated to Our Lady of Good Counsel. Because also in Ponte Nuovo of Magenta, the village where I lived 20 years of my life with my family, there is a small church dedicated to Our Lady of Good Counsel. And both my mom and my dad were very devoted to this Virgin Mary. And they wanted that my brother, my sister and me to be baptized in this small church and then consecrated to Our Lady of Good Counsel. So, very happy. My Saint Mom is considered the patron saint for mothers, physicians. She was a pediatrician of unborn children. And past year, in occasion of the 8th World Meeting of Family with Pope Francis, my Saint Mom was one of the 2 patron saints of the World Meeting of Family, together with Saint Jean Paul II, just the Pope who beatified her and canonized her. You can imagine my joy. I think the world today particularly needs my mother's life witness, and perhaps today more than ever. Her exemplary Christian life witness, her sacred respect for life, her great joy to live, her courage and spirit of sacrifice, her unlimited trust in divine providence, her great love for the life, for the Lord, for the Virgin Mary, for her family, for her neighbor and her patients, for my beloved Daddy, for their children, until her greatest gift of love, the sacrifice of her own life, giving birth to me. All these aspects are really like a bright light, a safe guide, and a great hope for each of us on our daily journey towards holiness, towards heaven. And my dad used to tell me that Mom's message is so wonderful, complete, and always fully present. It's a message of a mother of a family, a message of joy and of love, a simple message, but at the same time a fundamental and a universal one. My mom was surely one of God's privileged creatures. God loved her very much, and she completely responded to his love. Even her last words before she died were, "Jesus, I love you. Jesus, I love you." And the Lord chose my mom among many saint mothers in paradise. to be a model for us, a model for mothers, and for girls, fiancés, spouses, physicians, health operators, and families as well. And also in order to allow her to do a lot of good, like she is doing in different countries of the world for many years now. And really, each time I come to know about graces received by the intercession of my mom, I feel very moved and touched. Among these blessings, there are, in particular, the so eagerly awaited gift of a child. After 7 years of marriage, 10 years of marriage without children, and or a gift of a second child born in good health. Difficult pregnancy or deliveries which have had a positive outcome for the mother and for the baby or the babies. The recovery from an illness, spiritual favors. I underline how much are important spiritual favors, because they change completely the life of a person, including the discovery of one's vocation, religious as well. I can say that with her exemplary Christian life and death, my mom praised and gave glory to the Lord. Through her powerful intercession, she goes on to give glory to God. And the Lord testifies His infinite love for us, also through mom's intercessions. My same mom, with our Heavenly Mother, all the saints present in paradise lead us to the Lord Jesus. Therefore, they are such a powerful help for us in our daily journey toward heaven. Dearest Saint Jean Paul II, when canonized my Saint Mom on 2004, at the present also of my dad, who at that time was 92 years old. With great emotion for my brother, my sister, and me, because our dad was present too. In the history of church, the first time that her husband was present at the canonization of his wife. And yes, really. The Holy Father states about Mom, the extreme sacrifice that sealed her life testifies that only those who have the courage to give themselves totally to God and to brothers are able to fulfill themselves. And Mom has been proclaimed blessed and then saint, firstly for the way she lived, before considering how she died. And she has been defined as a saint of everyday life, who lived her daily life in an exemplary way. Dearest Cardinal Carlo Maria Martini expressed very well this concept about Mom. He stated, in occasion of Mom's beatification, Gianna is for sure a saint of everyday life, and in this sense, she represents a great hope for us. The conditions of her existence were the typical ones of an adolescent, of a young woman, of a doctor, and of a mother. And she lived them, really loving each of them. All that she met, either people or events, was to her an occasion for growing in love and in the gift of herself. The secret of her extraordinary yet everyday life has been the faith that she had received from her parents. I always think how much is important our parents' examples, and also our grandparents' example as well. She cherished that faith and made it grow thanks to the Word of God. It was kept alive by Holy Communion and announced by charity. Her faith was enlightened by the power of Christ's cross and by the glory of the risen, Lord of all men, Son of God, revealer of his Father, the truth that leads the whole history. And also Cardinal Martini states, Gianna's message is really a great message, and in some way a new one if compared of other saints' message. For example, in comparison to saints we find portrayed here in St. Peter Basilica in San Pietro. The great religious saints, religious orders founders, extraordinary people, therefore a little distant from us. Gianna's holiness is near to each one of us all. She faced our same problems. She suffered like us. She lived our same difficulties of our daily life and of our professional life. She paid attention to her family, welcomed her guests. She patiently lived the circumstances of everyday life. A popular holiness, a simple holiness, accessible to everyone. And Gianna used these means to become a saint. The parish life, the daily mass, her engagement into Catholic action, the ordinary prayer activities, the typical devotions of simple people, God's contact ways suggested by the ordinary parish pastoral. Therefore, we are very grateful to our blessed, at the time Mom was blessed, for her simple and magnificent message. And I am really particularly moved when I think that my Saint Mom is the first saint in the Diocese of Milan after the great Cardinal St. Charles Borromeo, canonized in 1610. Are past 400 years, and the next saint is my Saint Mom. And there are other important cardinals, like Cardinal Schuster and Cardinal Ferrari, that at present are, sorry, only blessed. But no, I thank God, because I always think that it's God who decided who has became a saint proclaimed from the church and when. Because of course it's necessary a miracle, and it's God who do the miracle through the venerable or blessed person. Let me remember my dad. I was only a week when my Saint Mom went to paradise. And so I have known her through the very vivid memories and witnesses above all of my dad. As Teresa told, my dad died 6 years ago on Holy Saturday. And I left my profession as a geriatrician to take care of him. When he died, he was almost 98, the mind very clear, his mind till the very last day of his life. It was for me really a great honor, a great joy to take care of him. I have thought, I am a geriatrician. If I don't help my dad, who I have to help? If I think how much he loved my brother, my sister, and me, how much he always been close to us in good and bad times. And I thought that also my mom would be happy if I stay very close to him. And if it's God's will would be different, beside him, there will be my mom, not me. And during the 7 years and 3 months I spent always with him, I can say that I knew also better the life, the spiritually of my Saint Mom. Sorry, I have my watch under my eyes because the time is running. I can say you that really God blessed me with a Saint Mom and with a dad who was her morphy spouse. In a letter that Mom wrote to Dad, wrote to him these words: you really are the dearest and most affectionate little husband, a saintly papa, not of gold, but of diamond, the biggest and most precious one there is on this earth. It was really so. Mom, during her life, since she was a child, accepted with full address the faith gift and the transparent Christian education she received from her parents, who introduced her to consider life as a wonderful gift of God and to have unlimited confidence in the divine providence, to be certain of the need and effectiveness of prayer. Mama prayed a lot during her life, her entire life. She told to her girls of Catholic Action, we have to remember that we do the apostolate first of all and above all when we kneel down to pray. And when she was only 5 and a half, she received her first Holy Communion. Since that day, Holy Communion became her indispensable daily food, and God became the very center of her life. Mama have a great joy to live, as I told you when I opened my testimony, and she loved every beautiful things that are part of life. Also, Mom had a lot of sufferings. For example, when she was 20, died her mom, and 6 months later, her dad. But all these sufferings were not traumatic experiences for her, thanks to a rich and deep spiritual life. Mama prayed a lot, also to know which was her vocation. At first, she thought to have to go to Brazil as a lay missionary to help one of her brothers who was a physician missionary, a Friar Capuchino in Grajaú, Brazil. But her body was not so strong to bear the equatorial heat. And so his spiritual director was able to convince her that her vocation was different. Otherwise, the Lord would have given her the help necessary to go to Brazil. Mama, who was the 10th of 13 children, had she brothers who consecrated to God. One of them, just this uncle and her brother, Father Alberto, now is a servant of God, because Diocese of Bergamo opened his cause of beatification on 2008, 7 years after his death. I can say you that he was really a saintly man. When Mom realized that our Lord was calling her to the vocation to married life, what she did, it was necessary to have a spouse, of course, for this vocation, and state that during her entire life she had a great devotion to the Virgin Mary. Mama, at the age of 32, she has already 32, what does it mean? That she went on to pray since she was sure what God would like as her vocation, because she would like to serve God in the best way possible for her. Mama went to Lourdes to pray the Virgin Mary to let him meet her spouse. And my dad too was praying the Virgin Mary. This was the prayer of my dad to Our Lady. He prayed to let him meet a Holy Mother for his children, the prayer of my dad. And thanks to the Virgin Mary and the divine will of God, their wonderful hearts and souls could meet at last, because Mom and Dad already knew each other 5 years before this. My dad, Pietro, was 10 years older than Mama, 42 was dead. He was a mechanical engineer. He was a man really of great faith and extraordinary virtues. And he was a director of a factory who produced mattresses in Ponte Nuovo's Magenta, a small village near Magenta, that was the city of my mom, a city near Milan. And my dad was an extremely reserved and shy person. And I always think, fortunately, my mom was not so shy. Because, in fact, mom was the first to declare her love to dad. So unusual, in particular, that time. In the first letter that my dad wrote to mom, he started the letter writing, "Dear doctor, dear doctor." Then he described the nature. He was in Finland for work. He described the nature. And then he put his son's name and surname, Pietro Molla. My mom, in her first letter to dad, wrote, "Dearest Pietro." And then, now, of course, I read to you just a piece of the letter, a little part. "I really wanted to make you happy." She don't write, "I want to be happy." "I really want to make you happy." Of course, the joy of mom was in the joy of my dad. To make you happy and be what you desire, good, understanding, and ready for the sacrifices that life will require of us. And then she wrote, "Now there is you, whom I already love, and to whom I intend to give myself to form a truly Christian family." I can imagine the infinite joy of my dad the day after he wrote to mom, "I love you, my dearest Gianna. I could not have received a greater or more ardently desired grace from our Heavenly Mother, Our Lady of Good Counsel, as she is invoked in my little church in Ponte Nuovo. My love is yours, and I want to raise a family with you. I too want to make you happy and understand you well. Forgive me for not beginning a closer confidence sooner than I did. I thank you for your help and trust. With all my love, Pietro." Mom and Dad truly lived their engagement time as a time of grace, with great joy and a deep gratitude to the Lord and to the Virgin Mary as they prayed to them for their future family every day more and more. They were ready to face life sorrows too. During their engagement, in a letter Mom wrote to Dad, "My dearest Pietro, it's true, there will be sorrows too. But if we always love each other as we do now, then with God's help, we'll know how to bear them together. Don't you think so? For now, though, let's enjoy the happiness of loving each other. I was always told that the secret of happiness is to live moment by moment and to thank the Lord for all that He, in His goodness, sent to us day after day." And 2 weeks before her marriage, Dad wrote to Mom, "Dearest Gianna, you and I have undertaken our new life with the certainty that God wanted us together. These months have all been a crescendo of understanding and affection. Now we understand each other perfectly because heaven is our light and the divine law our guide. Because heaven and the divine law find in you the most beautiful virtues and the greatest good, while I have the greatest desire and the immense joy of making you happy always. Now our love is full because we are one heart and soul, one feeling and love, because our love, strong and poor, knows how to wait for the blessing of heaven." And Mom answered to him. The letter I have to read at the World Meeting of Families at presence of Pope Francis. The organizer chose this letter. "Dearest Pietro, I am sure that you will always make me as happy as I am now, and that the Lord will listen to your prayers, coming from a heart that has always loved him and served him in a saintly way. Pietro, how much I have to learn from you. You are such a fine example for me. And I thank you for it. With God's help and blessing, we will do all we can to make our new family a little cenacle where Jesus will reign over all our affections, desires, and actions. My Pietro, our wedding is just a few days away now, and I feel very moved to be so near to receiving the sacrament of love. We will be working with God in His creation. In this way, we can give Him children who will love and serve Him. And so they got married in St. Martin Basilica in Magenta, my mom's parish. And then they moved to live with Dad in Ponte Nuovo of Magenta, in the small house reserved to the family of the directory of the factory. At that time was my dad. Also at present, this home is a property of this company. And Mama did doctor also in Ponte Nuovo as a pediatrician. She devoted herself to work as the director of the advisory center for mothers and for the nursery, linked to a national organization for motherhood and childhood. And then she also worked as a volunteer at the medical service of the nursery school and of the primary school of this small village. Mom and Dad, after their marriage, what did? Prayed the Lord and the Virgin Mary for receiving the so eagerly awaited divine gift and grace of children. And their prayers were listened because my mom gave birth to my brother Pierluigi. 1 year later, to my little sister Mariolina. Let me remember Mariolina. Mariolina, according God's will, died 2 years after my mom's death, at only 6 years old. Mariolina reached Mom at the early age of 6. Then Mom gave birth to Laura, my sister Laura, in the sponsal home of Ponte Nuovo. And Mom and Dad always lived their love in the light of faith, and they truly lived the sacrament of marriage as a vocation and as a path towards holiness. As I transcribed Dad's letter to Mom, which were published after his death, when he was alive, he didn't want his letter to Mom were published. He was very, very reserved. And as I transcribed the letter, I understood completely that their love was so great and could only be so great, profound and true, because the Lord and our Heavenly Mother were always present. They were an integral part of this love, just as they were already an integral part of their whole lives. And Dad, how many times told to me that Mom was a happy wife and mother, and that she was able to combine in simplicity and with a great balance her duties as a wife, a mother, and as a doctor. And she always felt fully realized. Even if Mom had already difficult pregnancy, in particular along the first months, Mom, as Dad testified, had the great desire to give Pierluigi a brother. First, she had 2 miscarriages and shared her big sorrow with my dad. Mom had 6 pregnancies in 6 years of marriage. You can realize how much she loved life. In September 1961, what's happened? At the end of the 2nd month of a new pregnancy, she was expecting me. She was diagnosed with a huge fibroma, a benign tumor. I underline, Mom had a benign tumor in her uterus. And the doctor, of course, the situation was worrying. And the doctor told Mom that she could choose and decide among 3 different solutions. I am speaking about medicine of 53 years ago. Now would be different the situation. At that time, doctor told mom that she could remove the uterus with an hysterectomy, the safest solution for her life in that situation and for the future. And dad used to tell me, if mom did this choice, mom could live 100 years if God would give her so many years to life. A second possibility, remove the fibroma and put an hand to that pregnancy with an abortion. But the option of still having a baby. The safest solution for her life in that situation, but not for the future. The third possibility, remove only the fibroma. The riskiest solution for her life, both in that situation and for the future, if she had babies again. The risk was this. The surgery necessary to remove the fibroma would leave a scar that could break going on the pregnancy, causing an uterus breaking with mortal risk for her and for the baby, who was me. And mom decided and asked the surgeon for the first solution. She really implored the surgeon to save the baby she was expecting. And she relied on prayer and divine providence. And my dad respected mom's choice. Another husband could say, no, you cannot risk to leave me here with 4 children and without you. My life was safe. And mom thanked God and spent the 7 months before delivery with an incomparable fortitude and unchanging engagement as a mother and a doctor. She practiced medicine till the few days before to go to the hospital. Some days before delivery, she was ready to give her life to save her creatures. At the same time, she still relied on providence and hoped God would save her too. 2 weeks, 20 days before delivery, Mama told to Dad, Pietro, if you have to decide between the baby's life and mine, do not hesitate, choose, and this I require, the child's. Do save the baby. You can imagine my daddy, for the second time, respect mom's choice. He knew very well mom's generosity, her spirit of self-sacrifice, her circumspection, and the strength of her choice and decisions. And someone told me, but your mom, with the decision, live here, 4 children without mom. And since I have a sense of guilt towards my brothers and my sister, and also towards my mom, who loved life so much, what I answer to these people, I tell them what my dad told me when I grew up and was able to understand mom's sacrifice. He told me, for mama, I had the same rights to life as my brother Pierluigi and my sisters Mariolina and Laura, already born. Who were already born. She knew very well that very moment she herself represented for me Providence tool to come to life. As to my brother and sister upbringing, she fully relied on Providence through Dad and other relatives. In other words, only my mom could help me in that moment. No other one, only my mom. It's like we born not only one time, but 2 times, when our parents conceive us and when our mom allow us to see the light. How many children can never see the light? And Dad used to tell me mom's choice had been dictated to her by her conscience as a mother and as a doctor. And it can be well understood only in the light of her great faith, her firm belief in the sacred right to life, in the heroism of a mother's love, and in full reliance on providence. What's happened at the delivery? According to God's will, Mom entered in hospital on Friday, Holy Friday, and doctors try a natural childbirth, a less risky option for a woman in her condition, but it did not work. And so, on Holy Saturday, I was born by cesarean section. And that was really the beginning of my mom's sharing with her Jesus' passion on the Calvary. A few hours after my birth, mom's general condition started to get worse. And she had a very high fever and terrible abdominal pains caused by septic peritonitis. a delivery complication. She will die of septic peritonitis. And in her agony, Mom kept saying, Jesus, I love you. Jesus, I love you. And she wished she could receive the Holy Communion also on Tuesday and Friday on her lips because she was no more able to swallow. And on April 28, 1962, Saturday in Albis, at dawn, she was taken back to the family home in Ponte Nuovo, as she wished and asked my dad. She would like to come back in her home, in her nuptial bed. And she died in her nuptial bed at 8 o'clock in the morning. And she was only 39. Every time is my birthday. You can imagine how much I think about my mom. Past year I thought I have already 14 years more that Mom had when she died. Now it's the time I close my testimony. Allow me to close my testimony with my dad's words, beautiful words. It was blessed Pope Paul VI who wanted to open Mom's cause of beatification. And through one of his bishops, asked my dad to write a synthetic biography of my mom. And Dad wrote a beautiful booklet, never published till now, really a beautiful booklet. And he dedicated this book to my brother Pierluigi, my sister Laura and me. Mariolina was already in paradise with Mom. Dad wrote, your mother's beliefs and basic ideas on life, with no doubts embraced and live from her with complete coherence and evidences, are the fruit of her profoundly Christian forming, her genuinely gospel forming, the fruit of her profound professional and moral training. They can be summarized as follows. Life is in itself the first and irrepressible God's gift. The first and irrepressible because it's necessary premise to any other wonderful gift of God. The human creature is sacred because of God's presence. There is Jesus, and each one of our deeds for her is a deed for God, for Jesus. And the divine judgment at the last of our earthly days will be based on these deeds. The human creature is already fully creature since her conception, and from the conception has the full and inalienable life right. And the mother has the duty that this inalienable life right can come true. Mother's virtues, theological and moral virtues, so very strong in her entire life, a life of faith and grace, of prayer and sacraments, of Christian evidence and apostolate, they all come together and can be summarized in her charity and her love. When her beliefs and her basic ideas about life, the new life she was carrying in her, and her same life, called your mother to take an equal decision, the decision on the alternative of one life or the other. Her charity and her motherly love has already reached the highest peaks. She, with her great life joy and the great desire to live, is ready to give her same life for her creature. Like in Jesus' teaching, there is no greater love than that one who gives her his life for the loved one. Like Jesus has done, he has given his life for us. Thank you very much for your attention. Thank you.